Hello tool groupies, welcome to the Backwoods Mechanic channel. If you like tool reviews, do-it-yourself videos, how-to videos, and much more, make sure to pop the clutch on that subscribe button and enjoy this review. Now today we're going to be reviewing the Hyper Tough name brand from Walmart. It is the cheapest store brand of Walmart, kind of the equivalent of Pittsburgh Pro to Harbor Freight. And a lot of people's going to blow past this and don't want to look at these tools. But let me tell you something, every tool has a purpose, including the Hyper Tough name brand here. And these actually pretty reasonable price, and they shocked me with how fairly well made these things are so far. I do have the 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch, and 12-inch set with another 12 right over here in the corner. There's a shop that I work at from time to time. I go in and do a lot of different repairs for them. They usually have their own tools there on site so they can do routine maintenance work, things of that nature. And somebody decided to have sticky fingers walk off with their tools. Now, of course, I like investing in my own tools to bring to these shops whenever I go, especially if I frequent these locations quite often to go do repairs for the company. And I like having my own tools on hand, but I do not want to risk my tools getting stolen. I'm not going to leave my better quality name brand tools there for somebody to walk off with them. And instead of buying high quality name brands for 5 or 6 or 7 different locations, generally I will keep my high quality name brand tools with me at all times wherever I'm going. And if I go to places like this factory, then generally I'll have myself a basic little toolbox with basic tools in it. And if they walk off, they go missing, it's not going to cost me a whole bunch of money. It's no big deal. If I break them, I could warranty them out, or if not, I'll just go buy them again because they're so cheap that it really isn't going to hurt me. It's not going to break the bank. I would much rather lose one of these tools as opposed to a Crescent, an Irwin, a GearWrench, a Williams. You know, the list goes on and on. The 6-inch was $6, the 8 was $8, the 10 was $10, and the 12 was $12. So altogether, for your basic 4-piece set right here, it's going to run you right around $43, tax and all. Throw in another one here, it's going to be right around $54, but it's well worth the price, and considering what you'll basically pay for other wrenches out here on the market, such as these gear wrenches. These gear wrenches right here, if you're going to buy a 3 to 4-piece set of these, they're going to cost you right around $80 once you're fully invested altogether. Now, another fairly good name brand that's on the market, if you want a 6 all the way through the 10, is to get these Kobalt sets. Will be in the description box below. You can check those out. It's going to cost you about $23 just for 3 of those. But somebody's more than likely going to run off with a Kobalt as opposed to running off with the Hyper Tough set. They're going to look at these and they're going to instantly think, they're cheap tools. Most repairs that people use adjustable wrenches for out here can be done with these types of tools. I would say if you're a professional and you're doing heavy duty work, working non-stop, full-time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're a plumber, HVAC, you work on steam lines, equipment, things of that nature, then you've already got your name brand quality wrenches, such as the J.H. Williams super adjustable wrench here that I pack with me everywhere I go. This thing is a heavy duty wrench, good quality wrench, well worth the money. But like I said, I'm not going to risk this thing being walked off with. So what I decided to do was go invest in these tools right here, because whenever you're working on something heavy duty, you probably are going to have a heavy duty adjustable crescent wrench in your toolbox regardless. But these are always good to have on hand, because 70 to 90% of the time what you're working on with these, they are going to get the job done. You're either going to be holding a fastener, holding a pipe, working with PVC, copper, brass, something of that nature, and they'll be perfectly fine to get the job done. Each one of these here is made in China, heat treated, drop forged steel. It will tell you that right here on the back in raised lettering, drop forged, made from steel, and it tells you the size on each one, 12 or 300 millimeters. So if you go by inch or if you go by metric, it's going to tell you the size of each one of these, and it's going to have this dirty chrome satin finish about all the way up the body to the top right here, and then it looks like a clear coat right here on the top. Now on the left side of each one of these, you're going to have size indicators for the inch on the left, and if you flip it over, you got size indicators for the metric on the right. So if you wanted to pre-adjust something for a fastener or a pipe that you're working on, all you have to do is take this little arrow down here. You got a 1 inch right there, it's on the 1 inch. You can go right to work, and then you can flip it over and you can do the exact same thing for metric. metric. Now on these sets, I do notice the smaller sizes right here. If you can see that, they did run them together a little bit. The laser etching's a little bit off right there, so they kind of gummed that up. But for the price, what do you expect? And most of the time, people aren't going to use these to measure stuff constantly. They're usually going to grab them and just use them as an adjustable wrench. So that's something I can overlook for the price. Each one of these, I would say, has a nice, thick, medium-sized frame. And we will compare it right here to the Craftsman Evolv. Now this one is the cheaper version of the Craftsman that you can get at Sears, and if you set them side by side, you will see there is a big difference in the thickness of the bodies on each one of these. The Hyper Tough one is much thicker than the Evolv right here. This is the Crescent 8-inch, and if you compare it right next to this 8-inch Hyper Tough, you'll see that there is a slight difference with the I-beam design by Crescent. It is slightly thicker than what you're getting right here with the Hyper Tough. Another thing each one of these have on them, as you can see here, is the hole on the ends of them. So if you got each size in this set right here and you wanted to hang them all on your shop wall, depending on what your setup is, you could easily do that. One thing that all of these have that kind of stands out the most for the price that you actually paid for them is the big thick comfort grips on these things. These actually surprised me. These are heavy duty thick comfort grips in comparison to some of the other ones out here on the market. This one is a Kobalt. I like the Kobalt. I use the Kobalt. It has its pros and cons about it also. And if you set them side by side, you'll see that the Kobalt is a little bit thinner than what the Hyper Tough is. Now, as far as the comfort grip goes, the Kobalt comfort grip is a little bit longer and it's a little bit thinner and rounder than what this one is by Hyper Tough. Hyper Tough is just a little bit thicker, and it does fit in your hand just as good because it's a little bit thicker. It gives you a firmer grip whenever you're going to make a fist to work on something, and that will help in a situation where you're needing to get on a fastener and you go around it and you go to grip the comfort grip to kind of pull this way or to turn it the other way. If you have to turn the opposite direction, then you've got a nice firm comfort grip right there that you can grab onto as you're turning those fasteners, which feels substantially better as opposed to the Kobalt right here. With the Kobalt, it's a little bit smaller, so I kind of have to, you know, adjust my fingers whenever I'm grabbing the Kobalt comfort grip to try to get on the fastener there. And then you got something like the GearWrench. Now the GearWrench has a full body comfort grip right here, and whenever you're going to get on the fastener here, I mean, it's nice, it's long, it's sleek, it does feel good in the hand whenever you're handling it. It's very well balanced, and you can grab it and you can put it on here many different ways. The problem with this type of comfort grip is that you can usually pull these straight off, and whenever you pull these straight off, or if you've done a lot of work, wear and tear on these things, and you're going in a downward position and you're working with a lot of force and you're trying to pull down, you're gonna slip these off, and then you're gonna hit the ground and it's gonna make you really upset. The way they got these designed with the Hyper Tough, you don't really got to worry about that. These things are on there pretty good, especially the bigger 12-inch version here. This is really thick as far as going up and down. So whenever you're grabbing it here, I mean, it fits in your hand real good. You can fit all of your fingers right here, your thumb right here, and you can go right to work. If you're having to pry on a fastener such as this, and you have to go in the forward or reversing position, this gives you a whole lot of comfort grip to hold on to make sure your hand is nice and comfortable while you're turning on that fastener, whether you're going forward or backwards with it. So that is something I really do like about this particular set of Hyper Tough adjustable wrenches here. They're thick, non-slip grips, so if your hands are wet, you're working on plumbing lines, things of that nature, in the grease, I mean, you're going to still have a good grip on these things. And each one fits the hand pretty comfortably, regardless of what size it is, in comparison to, like I said, some of the other brands out here on the market. Even the little 6-inch has the comfort grip right here. Each one of these do have a 5-year limited lifetime warranty, so if you do intend on taking these back for a warranty, make sure to keep your receipt. Just put it in an envelope, put tools on it, tool receipts, whatever, store it somewheres. Any of the receipts you got for tools, do it that way. That way, if something fails, you can take it back within that 5-year period of time. Even if you have to replace them, if somebody walks off with them, it's not going to hit you in the wallet quite as bad as what it will with one of the other name brands. If anybody wants to borrow these, use these to do maintenance repairs, then they can. And if they walk off, oh well. The jaw capacity on this one overall is 1.5 inches wide. The 10-inch, and it is a 1 1/4 jaw capacity. If you measure it up next to the 10-inch Kobalt, the 10-inch Kobalt is at least going to give you the exact same jaw capacity with this one, which is good. But if you measure it up next to, yet again, a GearWrench name brand, it's not going to do that. The 8-inch on this one has a 1-inch jaw capacity. The Crescent has a 1-inch jaw capacity. So these are going head to head with some of the high quality tools such as Kobalt, such as Crescent, but not GearWrench. And GearWrench is owned by the Apex Tool Group, which also owns Crescent. So you would think that they would invest a little bit more into these tools. We're going to look at the 10-inch Craftsman Evolv versus the 10-inch Hyper Tough, and you can see that there is a substantial difference here. The little 6-inch adjustable wrench, it has a 3/4 inch jaw capacity, whereas this one here, as you can see, once again, Craftsman Evolved, substantial difference on that one. So if you got into a tight situation where you absolutely needed to get on a fastener, you could get on some pretty big size fasteners with this thing, pretty good size pipes to hold them where you need them at, to turn them off in tight situations. These are competing directly with store brands such as Work Pro, Craftsman Evolv, Pittsburgh, and a bunch of other small-time store brands. And if you want to see the tools in action, hit the subscribe button, go follow me on Instagram, watch some of the do-it-yourself videos that I upload, and you will see these things in action. For all we know, these could be made at the exact same manufacturer. We've seen tool companies do this before. We've seen a lot of tools be rebranded and be the exact same thing as another product. But until we start using them out, we're not going to know the performance of the individual tools. So the only way we can do that is to test these things out. These have the same type of jaw capacity, virtually the same kind of setup, different comfort grips. So these are going to be interesting to try out and see how they last. But you're going to pay more for this one for the name and the warranty as you're going to this one. But it doesn't mean that this one's not going to last just as long. We will find out. Whenever there's a whole lot of slop in the jaw, people are like, oh, I ain't got an adjustable wrench that's tight. Here's the thing about that. Crescent is one of the best well-known name brands on the market because they're the ones who invented the Crescent wrench. This is the original Crescent wrench. They made this design, they put it out here, but they were never one of the best ones on the market. They were the original, but they were never one of the best ones. They did give you a good quality tool for the price. That's what they had going for them the most, because they could produce these things in mass quantity. They could help a bunch of people with a bunch of jobs, different tradesmen all over the world make a living doing their job, making repairs. Got it done for a reasonable price. That's what we're looking at with these. Crescent had a sloppy jaw. They threw a lot of metal at it and alloy into their steel so it would be a little bit stronger, sturdier, and it would get the job done. But the jaw slop has always been there on all the Crescent wrench products that I've ever had. The Kobalt has a substantial amount of jaw slop on it. Now the ones that don't have a lot of jaw slop is these Craftsman Evolv. I didn't expect that when I bought these. I didn't think they would last that long, and you know what? They're still nice and tight, which is surprising. The GearWrench is going to cost you. They have a pretty good lot of slop right here in the jaw, and the jaw doesn't open up quite as much as what the other ones do, and it's a thinner profile body than what we got with the other ones here. Even with the Williams, you look at the Williams here, that is more slop than you'll see with any of the rest of these. Now, given this thing is old, but still, there's a whole lot of slop there. With the worm gear back and forth, it moves up and down quite a lot. It moves in and out a little bit, and if you do that to each one of these other ones, you're going to see similar results. It's going to have some different movement up and down on each one. The worm gears are going to be different. Each one kind of does the same thing, and if you go back and forth and you feel of each one of them, and then you come over here and you feel of the Hyper Tough, there's really not that much slop here. They actually got these cut at a pretty good tight design, so that there's not a whole lot of slop. Whenever you're moving that jaw up and down, it's not moving that much in comparison to all the other ones. It doesn't move nearly as much. The way they've got these jaws designed on these is pretty unique compared to the rest of them. They don't fit completely flush, but they kind of fit in a way to where it kind of helps you get your job done. Now, whenever you're sticking it on here, if I run it all the way up inside the jaw there and I tighten it down, it is going to be nice and tight. You can't just pull it off here and then I can hang it. I can swing it back and forth and it's not going to go anywhere. It's actually locked onto that because front end of the jaw here is actually closer together than the back end is. So if you really want a good, nice, tight fit, you take it in there, you tighten it up, and it's going to help hold it on there. The problem is you're not going to be able to really pull it off. You're not going to want to get it too tight in a situation where you can't get it off there. You're going to want to release this worm gear. But now if you want to get the accurate size on it, you're going to want to take it and adjust it to the very tips of it. Now once you adjust it to the tips of it, you can make sure that it is just enough room to where you can wiggle it off here, and even right there it's nice and tight. The worm gear's not loosening up enough to where it'll just fall off. Adjust it just enough to where it slides the tips over. Now once it slides the tips over, I can sit here and I can use this thing to adjust this fastener back and forth as many times as I want to. And believe me, I took this 12-inch to work for the past week now, and I've used it for the past week now, and everything that I have adjusted it up to, it hasn't really lost that much tension given the amount of work that I've put it through. Now some of these other adjustable wrenches will not do that. The gear wrench, you can take it, you can adjust it straight up, and you can tighten it. I'm pushing it as tight as I can get it right here, as you can see, hoping it'll hold it. And it's just not going to hold it. The gear wrench is not going to hold it, unlike the Kobalt and unlike the Hyper Tough. Now here's the Comfort Grip Kobalt. We'll do the same thing with it. We'll tighten it up. As you can see, you can pull it, and this one pulls off easier than what the Hyper Tough was doing, but it still holds a little bit of a grip. Now we'll do the same thing with the Craftsman Evolv. The Craftsman Evolv is actually on there pretty nice and tight. If I go to pull it off, this one is just as tight, if not a little bit tighter than the Hyper Tough. The Crescent's got the off corner loading, and whenever you tighten it up on there, it won't even hardly spin back and forth. It wants to hold a good grip. I mean, you're sideways right there and it ain't falling off. So at the end of the day, is it worth the price you paid for it? For what I'm going to use it for, I think these are well worth buying. But yet again, I'll do an update video and I'll let you know. You can find out the results by hitting that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the Hyper Tough brand, and I'll see you next time.